For years, the answer was simple. If you wanted something reliable, something proven, something you could trust without thinking twice, you bought a Glock. No debate, no second guessing. It just worked. But here's what's quietly happening in 2026. Some of the most serious shooters, the ones who train regularly, who actually test their gear under pressure, are starting to rethink that default choice. Not because Glocks suddenly stopped working, but because certain situations are exposing limits people used to ignore. Close contact encounters, imperfect grip under stress, ammo inconsistencies. And this is where things start to change. Because while semi-autos depend on a system working perfectly, revolvers operate differently. And now, a new generation of revolvers is starting to close the gap in ways most people didn't expect. This isn't about replacing pistols. It's about understanding where they struggle. Because when everything is perfect, a modern semi-auto is hard to beat. But when things aren't perfect, that's where the conversation shifts. And the revolvers gaining attention in 2026, they're not the old school designs people used to overlook. They're refined, improved, and built with a clearer understanding of real-world use. Better triggers, stronger materials, improved ergonomics. But most importantly, they're being chosen for what they do under stress. Number 1, Smith & Wesson Performance Center 627. The Smith & Wesson Performance Center 627 is one of the clearest signs that revolvers are evolving. 8 rounds of .357 Magnum in a single revolver. That alone changes the conversation. Because one of the biggest advantages of a Glock has always been capacity. And while 8 rounds doesn't match a full-size pistol, it reduces the gap enough to make people reconsider. But here's where things start to matter. This revolver isn't just about capacity. The trigger is tuned, smoother than standard models, making double-action shooting more manageable. And that directly affects real-world performance. Because under stress, trigger control is everything. But here's the trade-off. The larger cylinder increases size and weight, and that affects how easily the gun can be carried daily. So while performance improves, practicality becomes a personal decision. Number 2, Ruger LCR 38 Special Plus P. The Ruger LCR represents a different kind of improvement. Not bigger, not more powerful, but smarter. Its trigger system is one of the smoothest in the micro revolver category. And that matters more than people expect, because in small guns, every mistake is amplified. But here's where reality steps in. Lightweight construction means recoil is sharper. Even with 38 Special Plus P, follow-up shots require control and discipline. And this is where expectations change. The revolver isn't trying to outperform a Glock in capacity or speed. It's offering consistency when grip and conditions aren't ideal. Number 3, Colt Python Modern. The modern Colt Python shows how refinement can bring revolvers back into serious conversations. This isn't just about looks or legacy. It's about precision and improved durability. The updated internal design addresses many of the issues older models had with timing under heavy use. And this is where experienced shooters start paying attention again. Because now you have a revolver that combines accuracy with improved longevity. But here's where expectations and reality diverge. This revolver still benefits from proper maintenance. It's not designed to be neglected or abused. So while it performs exceptionally well, it rewards care more than rough handling. Number 4, Kimber K6s. The Kimber K6 brought something unexpected into the market. A compact revolver with 6-round capacity. That alone changes how people think about small revolvers. Because traditionally, size meant sacrificing capacity. But here's where things get real. Compact size still means sharper recoil, shorter grip, less control, more demand on the shooter. And this is where experienced shooters adjust. They don't expect comfort. They expect reliability in a small package. And that's exactly what the K6 delivers. Number 5, Smith & Wesson Model 66 Modern. The modern Smith & Wesson Model 66 brings balance into the equation. Lighter than full-size revolvers, but stronger than older versions. And that makes it more versatile. It can handle .357 Magnum loads more consistently than previous iterations. But here's where things don't always match expectations. Lighter weight means recoil is more noticeable, and that affects how quickly you can shoot accurately. So while it's more capable than before, it still requires proper technique to run effectively. Number 6, Ruger GP100. The Ruger GP100 has always been known for durability, but in 2026 it's being appreciated differently. Not just as a strong revolver, but as a reliable platform that holds its performance over time. Because one of the most overlooked aspects of revolvers is timing stability. And the GP100 maintains that even after heavy use. But here's the reality. The trigger is heavier compared to most pistols. And under stress, that changes how the gun performs in your hands. So while the mechanism is extremely reliable, the shooter still has to meet it halfway. Number 7. Smith & Wesson Model 642 Airweight. The Model 642 Airweight proves that simplicity still matters. Lightweight, compact, easy to carry. And that's exactly why it remains relevant. Because the best gun isn't the one you leave at home. It's the one you actually carry. But here's where expectations shift. Lightweight doesn't mean easy shooting. The trigger is long and relatively heavy. And under stress, accuracy becomes more dependent on training. So while the revolver itself is dependable, performance still comes down to the shooter. Number 8. Ruger LCRX 3-inch. The Ruger LCRX with a 3-inch barrel adds something small, but important. Barrel length, and that changes performance more than people expect. Velocity improves slightly, recoil becomes more manageable, and sight alignment becomes easier. But this is where trade-offs appear again. It's no longer a true pocket gun. Concealability decreases. So while performance improves, carry convenience changes. Number 9. Taurus 856 Defender. The Taurus 856 Defender brings accessibility into the conversation. 6-round capacity, compact size, reasonable cost. And that makes it appealing to a wide range of shooters. But here's where experienced shooters pay attention. Consistency. Because reliability isn't just about design. It's about how consistently that design is executed. And over time, that becomes the deciding factor. Number 10. Smith & Wesson Model 327. The Smith & Wesson Model 327 challenges old assumptions completely. Lightweight frame, 8-round capacity, powerful caliber. On paper, it looks like the perfect balance. But here's where reality becomes clear. Lightweight Magnum revolvers behave differently. Recoil is faster, sharper, harder to control over multiple shots. So while the revolver offers impressive specifications, its effectiveness depends heavily on control and experience. So are revolvers replacing Glocks? No, but they're forcing people to think differently. Because once you move outside of perfect conditions, once you consider real-world variables, you start to see where revolvers still have an edge. Not in capacity, not in speed, but in consistency. And that's why some serious shooters aren't just following what's popular anymore. They're choosing what works when everything else doesn't.